Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is that you're listening or watching episode 39 of Turfcast podcast with me, Joe Redmond, and as usual, we're back to the normal podcast now after a couple of big interviews. It's my good friend Simon Townley. Good to see you on brand this week, mate.
I know I'm not outside.
So when you're outside, you wear England. When you're inside, you wear Burnley.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that how it is? I like that shirt though.
Thanks, mate. Is it the 95, 6?
Around that area. But the thing I like most about that shirt is the stuff emblazoned on the shirt, you know, in the sort of like watermark style. Because on one half you've got the full crest, on the other half you've just got a half of lions.
Yeah.
I love that. The mitre collar as well. The mitre collar is an absolute staple of any mitre shirt. I love the mitre collar.
We're in Greece in Olympiacos and I seen some guy rocking around with collar up and he had big fat shades on and like skinny shorts and I'm like, you look sick. I have that shirt. It's coming back out. That was pretty much my thought process. And he had his collar up like.
Yeah, see that. I was going to say I'd always have the collar down because of the triangles and the Marta logo on the collar. That's what I mean. That's why it's such a staple of the shirt. However, you know, like how collars these days always right flimsy and they always flop back down. Yeah. Mitre collar that stays up when you put it up. Like the Viagra. It's like the Viagra of collars on shirts. Class it is. I love it. I've got the TFG one on. I don't know what year it is. Early 2000s. Seem to remember Jean-Louis Valois in this shirt.
I remember Noeri wearing it. Really, really oversized.
It was style back then, weren't it? I think Chaplow wore it like that, didn't it?
Yeah, I remember it well. And we weren't a sponsor we had or a kit supplier we had for a while. It were a couple of years, were it, Max?
I think 2 or 3 years, yeah. I think TFG followed Super League. In fact, I think, I'm just thinking out loud here, I've had a random flashback to a bit of a memory. I think Super League changed their name to TFG, or that's what someone told me at the time. I'll research that before someone gets in touch and goes, how can that be true when Super League is still going? Because I think they are still going, actually, so then that would blow it all out of the water. Unless TFG changed their name to Super League. But no, I seem to remember the one with Super League on it. You know, when we got promoted.
Yeah.
I seem to remember having that one before this one, because this were early 2000s, whereas obviously the promoted one was 99, 2000. To
be fair, a lot of your listeners will be like one of their first shirts, what you're wearing.
Yeah, it's a good shirt. The home one of that year, I think, were a bit poor. I think, did they put the crest in the middle that year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of the crest in the middle. Never.
Adidas did it with the away shirt. Was it the away shirt? The white one with the blue things, wasn't that?
Yeah. And you know what? I actually really like that shirt.
Yeah, it's one of my favourite shirts.
Yeah, it is one of my favourite shirts.
Slagging it off.
Although I did see someone, you know them tier lists that people do, like YouTubers and Twitter and Instagram accounts do? It's a tier list. A list of everything, like, you'll do like your opinions on like club sizes, for example. So you'll put someone did one of them up for Burnley shirts, and that one that we've just mentioned was like put it in the bin, like right at the bottom.
Was it?
Yeah, and they're like, "What are you on it, mate? I'm gonna clear." I thought I can't be like pissing people off on the Burnley socials when I'm trying to push this brand. But another sunny day today, mate. You look like you've caught the sun.
Oh no, mate! I've got a full week planned of sunbathing.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good week, isn't it?
Apparently so. My birthday's next Thursday, so I'm just keeping an eye on that day.
Yeah. Is that what's it like at the minute, that one?
That's the coldest day so far of the next 7.
Good. I like that.
But I'm keeping an eye on it because Friday, the day after, is pissing it down. So I'm hoping we push it further on.
Yeah. Well, if you're listening to this while sunbathing, so it's going to be sunny for the next few days. You know what? I'm going to say send us a photo. But no, I don't know. I don't want to see any photos of any topless men sunbathing.
Well, depends who your listeners are, but I think our listeners are all right.
This demographic, yeah. But yeah, before I get started, I do want to quickly mention the Pitch Sport app as well. Obviously, I know I say this every week, but me and, just me at the minute because of lockdown, I do a lot of videos on there every week, and they're still pushing a lot of content on the apps as well, even though there isn't any footer, so please do go and check it out. But the first bit of news that I want to chat to you about, Simon, is the news that broke today that the Premier League has unanimously voted to return to contact training. I think that is basically another sign of it's just a matter of time now until football comes back.
I mean, I know we're desperate for news, but fuck it. What were they going to do when they played 90 minutes?
I know it's one of them. I think it's more a case of we always knew it was going to happen soon, but I think it's just today's the day that they decided to.
It's just bizarre.
It's
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 bizarre.
it's bizarre as a fly flies over me, but it is a sign to say that football's obviously on its way back. I mean, I didn't feel like it wasn't in the last few days, but you've still got a lot of people out there that are saying I don't think it should come back, blah blah blah. But I think it is now. It is coming back.
Listen, if everybody has to get COVID tested just to get into the training facility, then why the hell can they not have contacts?
Yeah, exactly. And I think obviously a few people have been whinging. A couple of footballers have been saying like they don't want to come back, blah blah blah, because of stuff. I think Danny Rose was one. Can't remember the other one.
Mane, Sadio Mane.
If it was, I didn't see that one.
I think someone at Liverpool, or was it Henderson Italian to Deeney?
Deeney did say it. Deeney did say it. Yeah, you're all right. Deeney did say it. But yeah, I think Simon Jordan on TalkSport said this week that I think footballers are getting tested 3 times a week. So you think about it, it's probably the safest place to be at the minute. NHS nurses don't get tested anywhere near that amount. They don't get tested unless they have symptoms. And even then, you've got to book yourself a test. So if you're getting tested as a person in your industry 3 times a week and everyone around you is getting tested 3 times a week, then surely there's no safer place than to be a footballer right now.
Well, definitely not. But I just think the world will move on eventually. And like you said, if we can be prepared and safe, and end of the day, mate, if my people of work said to me, yeah, you have this test, you can return to work, I would do it. But that's just my circumstance. I don't disagree with anyone that's saying I don't agree with going back to work. For example, it's not the politics show, is it? But you know what I mean. If you want your kids to go back to school, there's a bit of an argument at the minute.
Yeah,
and it's like I don't give a shit. If you don't want to send your kid, don't send your kid. If you do want to send your kid, but football, if everybody's completely tested, then for me, there's no sort of stress.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like I said, it is the safest place to be at the minute. So if everyone around you has been tested and is safe, or someone in your team has been tested and has been found to be not safe or have it, then at least you know you've been in contact with somebody, and then you can keep on top of that and then keep getting yourself tested. So I don't really see what the issue would be, but
No, exactly.
I follow your side of it of like, if you have any issues because you have, I think it was Danny Rose that said he had or is it Dina that said he had a child with respiratory issues. That's fair enough, you can understand the
I understand
concerns.
it.
But there is no safer place to be at the minute. But have you seen, by the way, obviously there's no announcement for the return date of football just yet, but the proposed Premier League televised schedule for football will be, because obviously it's all behind closed doors, so every single game, pretty much, I think it might actually be every single game, is going to be on TV. So on Saturdays, there's going to be a game on at 12 noon, 2 p.m, 4 p.m, 6 p.m, and 8 p.m. On Sundays, it's going to be the same. So 12 noon, 2 p.m, 4 p.m, 6 p.m, and 8 p.m. So that there is all 10 games. So every single game there will be televised if this is correct. Then on Tuesdays, 6 p.m, 8 p.m, Wednesday, 6 p.m, 8 p.m. That is going to be class.
Yeah, it's like a World Cup, innit? It's like when you get your calendar, you get it out of your newspaper back in there, pin it on wall, and then that's how you knew. Before these kids had mobile phones, that's how I knew what game was coming up. And then they'd have a little square box next to it, and I could write the numbers of 3-0, Germany 3, Uruguay 0. And then you'd be like, that's what I'm going to do, mate. Let's make a Turfcast calendar.
Make a Turfcast world chart.
Yeah, that's the one, world chart.
World chart. Not a calendar. I've got a calendar on my fridge, mate. I don't need another one.
Got an asterisk on there. What's that for?
That's your birthday, mate. Just need to remember to get your present. In fact, I do need to mark your birthday on there actually. Man, I think Mrs. has done it, to be fair. But I am very looking forward to that. 100%. Can't wait.
I've gone.
You've gone.
Yeah, I think it'd be class, mate. I think the just a weekend of football. I don't know how many wives are going to be interested in me right now. For example, there's one in there that might be thinking you can start off if you're watching all them games. But I'm not going to lie, I probably will.
Yeah, well, I'll watch as many as I can, especially on the Saturdays, and so every single Burnley game will be watched without a doubt. That is foot down sort of moment. If you think I'm going shopping rather than watching this Burnley, that's always been the scenario for pretty much every person listening to this, probably. So every Burnley game will get watched, regardless of the time or regardless. If one falls on your birthday, for example, sorry mate, I ain't ringing your FaceTiming you. I can't do it like that. I'm watching the Clarets. But yeah, I will try and watch as many as I can. But you mentioned wall charts. Do you remember them interactive league tables? And they weren't interactive in the sense that interactive is today, but you'd get a league table and you'd put them all on your fridge and on your wall, and they'd all, like this paper would all have little holes in it and stuff. And you'd get the team name of every single team in that league, so Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Burnley, all for the Premier League. And if someone won that week, you'd have to move them up and then move other people down. It was class, that, weren't it? So that'd probably be better. That would probably be better.
Yeah, we need to do that. We need to do an interactive league wall chart, like you just said. And for the first time ever, when we're actually reporting on this the week after, I can say, when I watch Burnley away on a perfectly legal stream.
Yeah, exactly. But we say it a lot, but this time we will mean it. I mean, you may or may
all the time.
Yeah, I'm going to say you may or may not have just dropped us both in it there. But we will definitely be fine this time. Although, how's it going to work? Have they haven't announced that yet, have they?
No, but I mean, like you said, the Premier League's paid for, I think, I don't know if this is true, but I think that the FA, I'm going to drop this now, I think the FA give certain players rights to watch certain matches.
Certain players?
Yeah. So, for example, say I'm Sean Darsh and I can't go to the match today because I'm poorly.
Right.
I think there is a way that I could watch that match from my home.
Oh, yeah.
On Saturday at 3:00. So I think what they might do is make it that it might be a portal where you have to go through with your clarets number. It might be a portal where it's just simply fuck it, let's just let everyone watch it for free. But I mean, even if they did it as a portal when you've got to go in a bit of a community-esque environment, that'd be class.
Yeah, that would be class. And I know they do that, obviously, because EFL have... obviously, we're not an EFL club anymore, even though I do work for an EFL club. I should remember this. But the EFL have their own sort of like stream... iFollow, it's called. So EFL have that, and you can do that. So if you are the chairman of a League Two club, for example, who are playing away nowhere near West Yorkshire, for example, maybe down in London, I know that chairman has a certain code and a certain portal given to him by EFL. Yeah, where he can watch it. So that is a thing at EFL level. So obviously now the Premier League.
I think it is a Premier League because I've heard something that's made me think that he must get it off the FA then, and. Yeah, I think that would be class. Like you said, if you got a link that said, listen, Burnley fans, the only thing I'd be concerned about is if they said you've got a season ticket so you get all your own games. And then it makes it a nightmare if you've got a one away game.
Well, you'd pay more, don't you? You know what I mean? 100% we'd all be doing that. But obviously we're all going to be watching it, and I think it's fair to say, are you going to be up for any Turfcast watch-alongs? We did a couple. If you listen to the podcast and you don't follow us on YouTube yet, you've been missing out, because we did some Turfcast watch-alongs when Dwight McNeil and Charlie Taylor played FIFA for Burnley, sorry. So we were just basically testing the water then, weren't we? The plan is to do watch-alongs when football restarts, or now it's going to restart behind closed doors, as we didn't know back then. We'll be doing watch-alongs at every single game, so I'm hoping that you're up for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something different, isn't it? And like you said, I like the community feel of it. I like the fact that I'm not sat with my friends anymore on the turf. I'm not sat with the bloke 3 things behind me that tells me to shut up. And you know what I mean? I want that community. That's a half of the experience of football. You know, the winning and the team in front of you is what half of it, but the rest of it is the people you sat around. And I think that if we can get that back, then why not? Like, we should all be in a group chat as Burnley fans.
So basically like a YouTube sort of like chat.
Well, yeah, like this back to the fixture that we've been doing when they're all chatting, like, but let's get rid of the ones that are just trolling. Let's have an actual community.
Next, moving on then, we saw this week on the social medias that Premier League clubs have been asked to find £200 million for EFL clubs to help them through the COVID-19 pandemic. So this will mean that each Premier League club has to find £10 million and essentially hand it over to the EFL, and the EFL will then distribute it accordingly between the Championship, League One and League Two. Now, there was a big debate on our social medias when I put this out. We'll get into that in a second, but I just want to get your thoughts on it, Simon.
I think 100%. I think this is every other industry in the world is pulled together at a time like this, whether it be my job, mine is hair, yours is sort of like broadcasting. What are you, journalism?
I just call myself a freelance media professional because I do loads of different stuff, don't I? Like sometimes I'll create a graphic for somebody, sometimes I'll do a live stream, I produce live TV for William Hill, and then I'll do camera work for Bradford, so it's just a bit of everything.
Exactly. So I think that we should all just sort of like accept that these clubs need help. If we had to finish the season like they had finished the season, we would be worse than £10 million off.
Yeah.
So if we have £10 million to give to them, but we are being, we're playing and we're being paid. If we had to cancel the season as they have, then at the end of the day, we'd be a lot worse off than £10 million. So shut up, get on with it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with helping clubs out at all. I do feel that it should be distributed a bit more accordingly in our side of things. So, for example, us giving 10 million quid to the AFL is a bit different from Man United and Tottenham giving 10 million quid. I think it should be the 200 million quid should be done. That Man United should, for example, pay for 40 million of it, for example, or whatever, just based on their accounts, and then Burnley pay. It could even end up that we're giving more. It should be you give a certain percentage of your turnover. Every Premier League club has to give a certain percentage of their turnover or their profit for the year or whatever, and then all of that is added up and then given to the AFL. Because then it's fair and it's done properly. I think that's how you should do it. Like I said, because if Burnley giving 10 million quid and Norwich giving 10 million quid, it's going to affect Burnley and Norwich more than Man United and Tottenham giving them 10 million quid. So I don't necessarily have an issue with the helping. It's just I feel it should be done a bit more fair on our side. And the other issue I do have, but again, I do still think that we should help. But the other issue I do have is certain clubs in the EFL and even all the way down in League Two, like Scunthorpe's an example, have owners that do have a lot more money than what the Burnley owners do. Scunthorpe, I know Scunthorpe isn't a big club and stuff, but their owners have a lot of money. They just don't pump it into the club, so they're essentially just going to get free money when they could, as owners, do it themselves. And obviously Salford's another one as well, another obvious one. I know the chairman at Leeds United has got quite a bit of dollar as well. So again, I think that should be done proportionately to something like that as well.
I half agree and I half don't. I agree with everything you're saying about logistics. Like maybe there are better ways of doing it to get the 200 million fee, whatever it is. I don't disagree with that. I do disagree with the fact that, say, Scunthorpe might have rich owners, so they should be punished for that. Because Scunthorpe, if they overspend, then they wouldn't adhere to the Fair Play League, and then they would be punished for that.
Yeah.
So, in retrospect, they can only put in what they can put in. So they shouldn't really be punished for not putting it in when they probably can't put it in.
Yeah, maybe that's not a bad point, to be fair. Maybe it could be something like you could relax the fair play laws for the next year, for example, something like that, if you do have a club that has some rich owners. But just to give some of the feedback that we got on the social media, because like I said, we put it out this week. If you don't follow us and you want to get involved in these, just search Turfcast Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube and Instagram. Scott White said, if we have it spare, then why not? We are all in this together. Yeah. Paul Williams says it should be done just like the Prem money is handed out, the ones who finish higher up the league and have the most TV money pay a greater percentage. Again, yeah, that's fair enough. Gareth Kirkbride says, good idea, stop smaller clubs further down in the league from folding. Carl Webster says that every club has the same financial backing, but they don't, so it's pointless. I half agree with the first. So every club if every club had the same financial backing, it would be good, but they don't. So it's similar, the same sort of vibe.
I didn't hear the sorry.
Yeah. Lawrence Egder has a bit of a big one here, so bear with me. The Premier League need to copy the UFC, NFL and NBA and create a monthly subscription and do away with Sky and the like. So a monthly sub with different level of memberships, Premier League, Championship, League 1, League 2, FA Cup, League Cup, ranging from certain prices to certain prices. Premier League will be self-sufficient then into 300 million homes worldwide. Then there will be no need to request money from clubs to support the lower leagues.
This is a fantastic idea that I'm pretty sure that it's quite well known now that is the future of the Premier League. I don't know if she's missed it, but it is a fantastic idea. If you come up with it on top of your head, you need to go and get a job there, because honestly, that's pretty much the plan.
Yeah.
But I think that it will be credible when that does come into play. I think the people are arguing it, but I think it just stops that monopoly that Sky have got at the minute of charging what they want for football.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Glyn Sherwood says, maybe if a pro rata with wealth of owners inside the club. So again, a similar thing that we've sort of said. Matthew Branch says, yes, as long as Blackburn get nothing. I think we can all get behind that one, to be fair. Neil Layfield, friend of the podcast, says it's a nice idea, but then you get clubs who are so poorly run that will be bailed out, and that will just let the owners carry on without being accountable for messing up. Similar. That will happen again. That's just one of them things that will happen, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't probably help them.
You could say that about the £10,000 grant that's been given out by the government. Some businesses don't need 10 grand, some need more. But eventually that all comes back through to the economy anyway, which it will do with the football.
Yeah. Final one as well. Matt Allen, another one with a bit of a rant. That's why it's the final one. Some of the comments on here, it's like people forget where we came from and how much shit we would have been had in this happened a few years ago. If the EFL clubs go bust, then so does football. That's it. There will be nothing left. Then you have the backwards to leave it out to furlough comments. Yeah, let's collapse the economy and raise taxes. Blah blah blah. Pathetic that people can't see the bigger picture. I agree with the point. I agree with where that point started. Like it's like people forget where we come from. Look at where we were.
Where did he lose the point for you then, Joe? That's what I want to know.
When you start calling people pathetic, there's no need for that. But if it happened 3-4 years ago, for example, not 3-4 years ago because we're in the Prem, but if it happened in the Cottrell years or the Stan Turner years, just after the RTV Digital, then we would have definitely gone bust.
And equally though, the RTV Digital thing affected everybody the same way this is affecting everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that obviously there was no bailout then, but there was no profiteering from it either. So.
Yep, fair enough. Just to quickly move ourselves into a bit more of news from this week. Robbie Brady signed a new deal, 1-year extension at the club. The club decided to trigger the option of an extension which was already in the contract. Thoughts on that one?
Why not? I mean, we said it earlier, didn't we? Look, you keep them all and add to it, then fine. But if you have to let somebody go,
yeah,
then fair enough. But if he sees that he's got a place for Brady and he's going to start using him properly, then why not? And if Brady's happy to be used in that way.
Yeah, it's one of them. We both said on the thing that when I did a few weeks back about what were it, keep or let go.
Yeah.
Quick short. I did. I think we both said we'd let him go. But it's one of them. Like I would have let him go to bring in new players, but I think now with the sort of that scenario as it is, no one knows how the transfer market's going to pan out. Whether inflation on players is going to go ridiculous or going to come down, who knows? But. It's one of them. Like I wouldn't have been too bothered if we'd have seen him go because of his injuries. He's not been anywhere near as good as he was in season 7. But I think it's a good chance to give him that chance. I still don't think he will ever get to that again. I think that's probably it for him. I think he's had quite a while now to try and find that form again. Yeah, it was a horrific injury, but he's had quite a while now. And maybe obviously Dyche knows more than us. Maybe Dyche has seen something that we haven't in training or whatever, or he's. You know what Dyche is like. He likes the correct mental attitude on people. So obviously Robbie's showing the good mental attitude for Dyche to want to do that. So maybe he has the right mental attitude to have Dyche thinking that he's going to break through into the team again.
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't know what's going on, but if he like you said, if he sees a part for him and Brady's happy with the part that he's been given, then there's nothing to lose there for me.
Let's talk about The Athletic, which is a must for all football fans and has loads of brilliant Burnley content. The Athletic brings you the best coverage of football, combat sports, NFL, NBA and loads more. A world-class team of football writers, including Andy Jones, who covers the Clarets, and it's completely ad-free with no ads and no annoying pop-ups. If you're not signed up to The Athletic yet, fans of Turfcast can now get 50% off the annual subscription price and a 7-day free trial. To get the deal, head to theathletic.co.uk/Turfcast. Right, so speaking of The Athletic, there was an article in The Athletic about 6 or 7 days ago now that was brought to my attention by a good friend of ours. Shout out Robbie for listening. Steve Cottrell was interviewed by Andy Jones, friend of the podcast, and he revealed in that interview that when Brian Laws was in charge of Burnley Football Club, Brendan Flood rang Cottrell and asked him if he would want to come back to Burnley. Now, I found that quite astounding because at this point, it weren't that long after, because Laws were appointed in January, because I think Coyle left after the FA Cup game at NK Dons, weren't it? So it were early January when he left. So Laws would have been appointed mid-January. I found it quite astounding that I think it was around March, April time, Brendan Flood, who'd been part of that decision-making, was then ringing somebody else to ask, not officially offer him the job, but to ask to see whether or not he would want that job. I found that pretty damning. I think he's by doing that, he's damned himself. It's pretty damning on what he thought of Brian Laws, and it's pretty damning on what he thought of his own decision-making as well.
I mean, I don't think there's many times in my Burnley fan life, other than the sort of teasdale, which were just as we were going into football. But I just think there was a toxic sort of vibe around Turf when Brian Laws were there. I mean, the moans and groans of everything. Every time a ball went away, every time a goal went in, it was like fucking shit. The crowd hated the appointment of Brian Laws, and I don't think anyone would have anticipated that on the board, because we're not that kind of club. We're usually the ones that back anything and everything.
Yeah.
We could be bottom of the table and still cheering for that opportunity to stay up, but we were looking for someone to lynch on that. It was bizarre. I've never seen anything like that.
Why do you think it was then that we were so different that time?
Oh, bitter about Kyle leaving.
That's what it was. I don't think people hated Laws. I think people were still bitter because of what Kyle did, and people were taking their bitterness of what Kyle did and the stuff that he said when he left as well, which were pretty much just stabbing the knife in the back of Kilby and the club and all of the fans when he was saying stuff like about how they're 10 years ahead and all that sort of thing, which he didn't need to do. He could have just been professional about it and just said, yeah, it's a club that I played for, and I feel that this is the next step in my career. That would have been fine, but he didn't. He said the things he said, and that's essentially what it is. I just think people were bitter to what they were taking their anger out on Brian Laws that they felt for Owen Coyle.
I'll be honest, mate. Right? It's like you just split up with your missus, right? And then you're walking down the street with your League Two replacement. No one wants to see that shit. No offence to Brian Laws, but he was coming from Scunthorpe, I think, at the time.
He were unemployed. He'd just been sacked, or recently been sacked by Sheffield Wednesday.
Right, and then we've took on a League Two replacement. You want to be walking back down the street past your ex, Bolton Wanderers as it is at this point, and then you want to walk past the street with your Champions League bird on your arm. You don't want to be walking, you know what I mean? And I think Burnley fans wanted to see the club put their hands in the pockets and say, listen, he's just slagged you off, saying that you're 10 years behind, you've got no money, you're nothing almost, and you're not going to be anything without him. We want to prove that we are something without him. Brian Laws walks in. I think it was just a bit of we wanted a bit more fireworks, I think.
Yeah, I think it was a typical cautious option from Burnley. I think even when they've appointed every manager they've ever appointed, I think they've always, apart from John Bond, but that don't really count for us, they've always gone for the cautious approach. Like even Dyche were out of work at the time. They've gone for the cautious approach there. But just to use your ex-Bird analogy, I think it's fair to say that Bolton now, yeah, she might have been, your ex 10 years ago or whatever and stuff or whatever, but now she's the girl on the council estate with 5 kids. And stuff like that. I won't say anything.
I had so many things and I stopped myself from saying it.
Yeah,
it's like that girl at school that were always be a bit mean to everybody. Yeah,
the popular girl. Like, oh yeah. We won't say too much. But I'll ask a question to you now that I asked all the viewers and stuff on our social medias, which I'll read out a second.
I'd give it Greza. That's who I'd give it to.
Would you? Right. Yeah. Well, that's not the question I'm asking.
Oh, that's
if Cottrell accepted the job and came in, not instead of Laws, but came in 3 months after Laws, do you think he would have then kept us up?
I know your answer. I think there was a possibility, because my issue was we were losing home games, and when we had Coyle, even though we had a shocking away record at that point,
terrible.
Our home one was keeping us in it, and Coyle dragged us through sort of like the big moments and the big games. Like we snuck into the playoffs, we won the playoffs, and then you've got teams like Blackburn coming to Turf Moor in the Premier League for the first ever time in the Premier League. I don't feel like we would have lost that with Coyle, and I feel like if we had that extra kick, which would be a replacement at the time, and Burnley admitting that they were wrong in doing what they'd done, that might have given us that momentum at the big games that we needed them.
I'll ask that question again, because you've answered it.
We would have stayed up.
No, you've answered it as though I said Coyle.
No, so I'm answering it as they say. When Coyle was here, we had a momentum.
Yeah,
but
so you think Cottrell had brought it back?
We were losing games we wouldn't have lost with Coyle. So I'm thinking that if we had an extra buzz, but like getting another replacement and saying like Brian Laws ain't working, it might have kicked that momentum back.
I personally think the heart and soul were ripped out of that club and not them players when Coyle left. I don't think, no matter if we could have brought in, a good manager. I can't think of someone off the top of my head, but we could have brought in a good manager, and I don't think, unless it was someone who just came in and demanded respect, that had achieved a lot in the game. But that was never going to happen because it's Burnley Football Club. But no matter who we brought in, because of what Coyle did, we were doomed to fail. I don't think anybody that kept us up, apart from, like I said, someone that could have come into that room and just demanded respect and just been a sort of manager that says, I've achieved all this, you now respect me.
I've got one thing in my mind, right, and it's a story I'll tell you very quickly, but it's the reason that I think that we could have done it. And do you remember when we smashed Tottenham that season at the end, even though we were already relegated?
Yeah,
I think we beat them 4-1.
4-2. They were 2-0 up, if I remember rightly.
Right, yeah. And we ended up turning them over. Apparently, one of the players told me that apparently when they got in that huddle, Graham Alexander said to them players, "Fuck what we've been told. We know how to play. We know how we play best. Let's go and show them all how to play. Enjoy yourselves." Apparently, that were the words he used along them lines. Anyway, it might not be word for word. And then we turned on that performance where we were passing it about. We were taking piss out of them at times.
Yeah.
And it were a buzz. And I think that's what we needed. Like you said, the heart and soul needed to be put back in. Put Grezza at the top of the trio. Put Cottrell might have done it.
He might have done it. I think the slide had started though. I think it might have worked. I'd be more happy. I'd be more inclined for it working if they'd have just said to Cottrell before Laws. I'd be more inclined. I still don't think it would have done, but I think it'd have had more chance of working then. But the heart and soul was ripped out when Owen left. Then the slide started. So by the time that it was ringing Cottrell saying, "Can you do this?" Maybe the slide had already started. So I don't think it'd have come in and prevented that slide personally.
Maybe not. Maybe and we'll never know. And it's been for the best anyway. So thankfully, none of it happened.
Yeah, thankfully. But I want to move on now. It's 11 years since Wembley this week, 25th of May 2009, a date that will be forever etched in my memory. Now, it's a shame that I, for some reason, can't find the Wembley shirt. I have it, but it's not in my box, it's in my bedroom, so it must be in loft. And we're going to wear that one today. So it is a shame. I'm going to wear that one because of the week that it is. But we've been looking back this week on Turfcast, and obviously the club did the back to the fixture. I'll be honest, I didn't watch this one. I didn't watch it. The novelty's just worn off. I think of it. It's just worn off a bit. I really enjoyed it at first, but now I just didn't watch it. But obviously, I know what happens in that game. It's not like one of these games like the Brighton game where it's a good game, but you kind of forget. Like I know the Wembley game minute by minute and everything that happened. I've watched it so many times. But anyway, let's reminisce. 11 years on. What were your memories of that day? Well, what stands out for you? Like not just the football thing. Like, obviously, the Wales goal and the final whistle and the lifting the trophy. They're the main points. But away from the football, like what stands out the most for you from that day?
Well, I missed Wembley '94. I broke my leg, so I weren't allowed to go. So I missed Wembley '94. So this was my first trip to Wembley to watch Burnley. I know it's the new Wembley before everyone starts saying that, but it was the first ever trip for me. So I was buzzing from start to finish. I mean, the lads we were out till 4 a.m. the night before. We only went out for a couple. We were up at 7 for coach. Well, we're up at 6 because someone got it wrong, and then we set off down on coach. I remember being in that car park, and it was boiling hot, weren't it? It was baking hot.
It were well. It was like it were today and this week. That's essentially it were exactly the same sort of weather.
It was scorching hot on a coach with no aircon. And I had, I hope you don't mind me mentioning his name, but a guy who I'd never met at this point. And he comes on, and I'm rough now because I've only had about 3 or 4 hours sleep. And this guy comes on with a fez on his head. Now, if any Burnley fans that know who I'm on about, he'll know straight away who this is because apparently he did this a lot. So he comes on with his fez and he's singing and he's throwing his arms around like this, and I'm thinking, you can fuck off. Don't be coming to the back. He came to the back, he sat at the back, and he's like, all the way down, right? And I'm thinking, right, I need to get my head out my arse here. But at the end of it, away home, I went down and sat on his knee, mate, singing with him. I fucking loved him. But it was just a whole experience from the minute, like I said, the minute we get up, you're travelling down, the walk down Wembley Way with my blue bag with all my cans in it. And it was just incredible. Like I said, the obvious memories of the football match, but these are the ones sort of that highlighted for me. It was just being with my mates, and like when you put it on Twitter today, that's a perfect example. Or the other day, and you was asking for people to share pictures. How many pictures came of just families?
Well, that's what I wanted. That's essentially what I wanted, and that's. I'm glad that people delivered with that. I wanted to see faces. I wanted to see friends. I wanted to see families because they're the people that tell the story. We know the story of the football. We all know what Wembley Stadium looks like. A few people just shared pictures of the fans and stuff in the background. That's cool. That's class. Like, I took so many pictures of the fans that day, but everyone knows what Wembley looks like and what it looked like. But I didn't know what Sheila from 43 Lyndhurst Road looked like when she went down that day, and stuff like that. Getting an insight into people's stories that way was just absolutely brilliant, and that's essentially what I did. I kind of regret now not doing like a little podcast where I got people on to talk about it, but that could be one we do over summer when there's no content to get people's stories that way. But for me, one of my main memories, we actually crashed on the way down. My coach crashed on the way down, so we're in the inside lane, 65, 70 mile an hour or whatever, and the coach driver's coming up and stuff like that, and he pulls out, indicates right, and as he's indicating right, I'm on my phone, standard. And you just hear this bang, and the coach goes, like that, and I remember grabbing on the seat in front of me, going, "Fucking hell!" Thankfully, it stayed on. I didn't ever really feel like it just tipped and then just stayed on. But I'm saying, thankfully, it didn't.
You're making it sound like you're in speed. But go on.
Yeah, well, essentially, that's what it felt like. But anyway, then we all had to get out, and I remember thinking like, shit. And my dad's like pestering coach drivers and like, we can't miss this game, mate. You're gonna have to do something here. And he's like, I think it was Fraser Eagle at the time, weren't it? They were the main coach supplier back then. Yeah. They've since gone bust. I don't know what happened there, but I remember he were ringing like Fraser Eagle headquarters and stuff, going, "We've had a crash. We need a spare coach. You need a spare coach." And he was sending him pictures of the damage and stuff. And boss were ringing him back up and stuff, saying we can't send a spare coach. So bus driver was saying stuff like, they can't send a spare coach, everyone, so I'm not really sure what we're going to do. And everyone were on pins at this moment thinking, like, if we miss this game because of this idiot coach driver... in end, he just put loads of masking tape or dust tape all over the thing, because it hit the lights and the bit of the bumper, whatever that stuff's made out of. It was sort of like, it had like little material inside it that had come off and all broken out. He's like, I can't drive with that because that'll flap and it'll end up breaking the whole thing. So he essentially just sellotaped it all up with masking tape, or duct tape, whichever one it was, and then just said, that should do. But it were kind of good in end, because we all stopped and had like a piss, and we're all needing a piss and stuff, and we stopped there for half an hour. A few people sharing cans and stuff on motorway. It was all just on motorway, outside the motorway, on one of the hills. Just stood there drinking beers with Burnley flags and stuff, and people were driving past going, beep, 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 like that. So when we knew that the coach were going to set off again soon, we're all like jumping and cheering and stuff, and it was class. But again,
that's what bothers me about our sort of friendship, because we do everything together. We've been so many places together, and then, like you said, we don't go Wembley together because obviously you share a ticket with your dad, so your dad just sorted it. So
it were actually you that sorted it. It were actually you that sorted it. Do you not remember? You bought me my ticket. But I think because there were so many of you that all wanted to sit together, like you said, there were also Jared and Dale and things like that. There were so many of you there. I think there were more than that as well. Your Uncle Andy went and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Didn't your dad?
I think we half filled the coach.
Yeah, exactly. So there were so many of you. So all of you guys were on a row, and you bought me a ticket, my dad a ticket, and my Uncle James a ticket, and we were sat 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows in front of you, but not with you. But you were so far behind, and we couldn't shout and stuff. Yeah. But I do have a picture that's on my Facebook still. I just took a picture of the fans behind me. As I said, I took loads of pictures of the fans that day, and you can see.
That.
No, you're doing this. All the action. Everyone's looking that way. So everyone's looking over there like that intently. You're like that. I think you were just sort of pissed. You were just for people who listen on the podcast, I'll pull in a drunk face, look in the opposite direction. But yeah, that seems to be one of my. That's my main. Obviously, the main memory is the football. But my main memory away from the football is that coach crash on the way down, and having you boys behind me and like trying to shout you and stuff and not getting much.
Do you remember when you're drunk? And obviously your memory's a bit of a haze, but there's always that minute where no matter how drunk you are, you sober yourself up to find your way home.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you remember I remember getting in the taxi or whatever. I remember walking all of a sudden, coming to a point where I thought, where the fuck is my coach? And then I looked at myself in the reflection of this coach with everyone banging on me. I had no top on. I had my shirt was hanging out my back of my pants like I were on holiday. And it was just scorching up with all engines going, beating all this heat. You could see the sizzles.
All the smog.
Oh, mate, you could see that. But if you were looking, trying to find your coach, they were just going like that, juddering because of the heat.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find my coach for ages. I remember that. I don't even know how I got home. I don't remember. But I don't remember how I found it. But I remember sitting on it at one point and it was baking hot and they didn't let us off for like 2 hours.
Yeah, because obviously the Sheffield United fans left first. Because they lost, and obviously we stay behind for an extra half again. We stay behind for an extra half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to watch them lift it, to celebrate with them, And because the Wembley car park back then, I don't know if it's still the same. I think they've sorted it now. There was only like 2 exits, so all the traffic bottlenecked. I remember that as well. I remember just being sat there on the coaches for about 2 hours, and it didn't ruin it, obviously. But I remember at the time just being like, "Wow, this is so bad." Like, it's the main stadium in this country, and you can't even get off it. There's only like 80,000 people here. It's built for 90,000 people, for God's sake. You know, why can't you sort it? But I remember same when I went to Chelsea. I remember being bottlenecked in there. Some of the grounds are just atrocious. But I do remember as well, while I was waiting in that queue to get out, I changed my profile picture just to a badge of the Premier League. That's a weird thing that I remember. I remember doing it, and I turned around to me and I went, "Hey, Dad, look at my new profile picture." And it was a picture that, the Premier League badge that you used to have on the sleeves.
I remember going back on the coach, or going down, I can't remember, sorry, which way it were, but I remember we stopped at the service station, and then we're all Burnley fans, and then you see that there's already 100 Burnley fans in that corner. There's already, because another coach has stopped, and then there's coaches pulling in, just full of Burnley fans at the service station. And I walked through, and we're all going to the toilet or cafe where everyone's going. And this tall figure comes to me, and I'm like, and I'm going in, and my eyes are adjusting now to new light. I think, it looked like bloody Cat in the Hat. It was bloody Mr. Portsmouth.
Oh, were it?
He was walking towards me. He's massive.
I spoke to someone on the phone this week that told me they saw him on the way to Wembley. I don't think that were you this week.
He was on the way to Wembley.
I think it was Robbie. I think it was Robbie or Jared.
Oh, with Robbie, so it might well be. And he walks out, and everyone was like talking about him. I'm like, what the fuck's he doing here? Did Portsmouth play in the playoffs the day before?
No, the day before, if I remember rightly, and you've just remembered it now, it was Jared, because Jared said the exact same thing. He said, didn't Portsmouth play in the thing in the week before? The week before the day before, I think it was Scunthorpe Millwall in the League One playoff final, because I seem to remember that being a classic game. I can't remember, we'll check it out. Jared
he still looked like the character, though.
Yeah, he looks like that, doesn't he? Let's have a look.
Still like that. And he was walking down. Anyway, I don't know who the game were while you do your research, but the rumour were everyone were talking about it, like, fucking hell, that Mr. Portsmouth's here. What's he doing here? And then they said, oh, yeah, he's been arrested. He's just been let out. So he had to come. He gone to services to get picked up, apparently.
Yes, I was spot on. It were Millwall Scunthorpe United. It's weird that I remember that. It were Millwall Scunthorpe United, and Scunthorpe United won 3-2. Let's have another look. You know what I'm going to guess at here? I'm going to guess that it was the FA Cup final. I reckon it was the year that Portsmouth won the FA Cup. So you try and
said he got arrested.
Did you ever say what's going on?
I swear to God, mate, like Cat in the Hat. He's fucking massive. He's so tall, and I don't know if he has platforms on or what, but I'm only 5'4".
It's probably the hat. It's probably just the hat. Chelsea Everton was the FA Cup final that year. Chelsea won 2-1. Sorry to the Everton fan that listens to the podcast for bringing that up.
God knows what we're doing there.
2009 League Two playoff final. Let's have a look at that. But that was 2 days beforehand. I mean, honestly, this podcast is a shambles, mate. Why are we bothering so much with bloody?
I don't want to know where.
Everyone's waiting with bated breath. Hold on. Gillingham, Shrewsbury Town in League Two, so nobody's got a fucking clue.
Maybe he'd done what me and you did in Euros in France. He booked his tickets thinking they were getting to Wembley and thought, fuck it, I'm going anyway.
I'm going anyway. Shout out to John Portsmouth Football Club if that was what you did. We're going to move on to more sombre issues now, unfortunately.
I'm sitting back for this.
So we said this week, I've put on the socials, Joe Hart's comments. He's spoken to the, who were it now? Observer? What's it called? Guardian, I think it were. Yeah, Guardian. He spoke to the Guardian this week, and he basically put himself in the shop window again. That's what people have been taking it as. He basically said, I do think clubs will be interested in me when my contract expires at Burnley and in this year. I'm a good catch, and I've got a lot to offer. Now, a lot of people did seem to take a bit of exception to that. What are your thoughts on it?
Again, I don't see what the issue is, mate. Any job in the world, if you have a contract that's running out, you look for another job. You don't wait till you've gone and then say, right, I better start looking now. He is a good catch. He's a free agent from a Premier League club. I don't see what the issue is. I
don't have an issue with it either, but I think people always tend to forget, like, in these sort of interviews, Joe Hart isn't leading where that interview is going.
No.
The journalist at The Observer will be asking him, yeah, Joe Hart could by all means say, I don't want to answer that question, but why should he? He's out of contract at the end of the season. He's not slagged Burnley off in that comment. One thing I did take exception to was when he was on TV and he said, yeah, I'm out of contract this season. He went like that to the cameras, just say like, call me agent. I thought that were a little bit not unprofessional or anything. I just thought you didn't really need to do it. You could say, yeah, I'm out of contract this season. I'll be looking for a new club, sort of thing. If I get nothing offered, you didn't need to do that. But with these sort of comments, I am totally fine with it. I don't think he's done anything wrong. And like I said, he's not dictated the direction of that interview. There's also the issue of Ben Gibson's tweet as well. He obviously he's sitting back there getting all professional. He's another one. He's not out of contract this summer, but obviously he will be leaving this summer. I think it's fair to say. But it's obviously, for those of you that forgot the situation, he is under contract by Burnley. He's being paid by Burnley, but he's training with Middlesbrough. And this week he's put a picture of himself up in the training gear of Middlesbrough and just put, I think it were at Borough and 3 running emojis. That had a bit of a reaction on social media. What do you think of that one? I know you need to be a bit political on this one, though.
Listen, I'm disappointed that this...
You're not angry with him, you're disappointed.
I'm let's start that one again. I'm disappointed that the situation is as it is, because honestly, I've worked with him for months and he's a really lovely human being, and his missus as well. And I'm disappointed that it's got itself to this situation, and whoever is in the middle of them two, because they won't be speaking direct, has let this sort of slide to the way it's gone. I think that it could have been dealt with in January if Dash didn't want to use him, because he hasn't used him. And I think I'm disappointed for him, because he's an alright guy, but I can 100% see the frustration of Burnley fans.
Yeah, of course. I just think there's no need for it, man. There's no need for it. Like, you've got to remember who's paying your wages at this point. Yeah, you might be frustrated with how it's panned out. Everyone's frustrated with things in life. He's clearly gone back to Middlesbrough to keep himself fit. We've allowed him to do that. We could have said to him, no, we are not letting you do that. You can train with the kids or you can train on your own. I think we've played fair by letting him do it. I don't think we should have necessarily done it. I think we should have tried to win him round. If that was impossible, then maybe that was impossible. Maybe it couldn't have been one round at this point. Maybe he'd had enough. That's fair enough. But I just think you just need to be a bit more professional in certain circumstances like this. Remember how you are going to look. Even if you don't mean it in that sense, you've got to sit back before you do this. When you have a platform like you do as a footballer and you're in the position that you are as a footballer, you need to think how this can come across rather than how you mean it. And just sit back and think to yourself, do I look a dickhead here? If the answer is yes, and in this case, I'm sorry to say, you do look a dickhead by tweeting this, then just think to yourself, I won't do it. Just be a bit more professional. And he's not an idiot, so he will... Well, I've never met him, but he comes across as someone that will be quite intelligent and will know how it is going to come across. But he's probably in the scenario now with our club where he just doesn't care. I
think you've nailed it there. I mean, I can't speak for him because I don't know the answer, but I think that you get to that point in life sometimes where you think, I don't give a shit the consequences, and maybe that's what's happened.
I've got a feeling that he will leave at the end of the season. He'll go back to Middlesbrough. Hopefully we get 7.5 for him and recoup 50% of the fee. But I've got a feeling it could be one of them scenarios that even after his even after he's left, it still rumbles on. He'll be saying things in interviews like Bamford did. I've got a serious worry that's how it's going to go.
I think the obvious out for him is a Middlesbrough, but I think that I don't think he will go to Middlesbrough. That's my opinion.
What are you basing that on? Just guesswork?
Just guesswork.
100% guesswork. It's one of them though. Obviously, I would be quietly chuffed if he didn't go back to Middlesbrough. The way the Middlesbrough fans have been acting every time he tweets something like this. Middlesbrough fans, we saw how annoying they were back in the year that we went 23 undefeated. They just love because they don't have their own rivalry. Obviously, they're up there in the northeast and they have derbies with Newcastle and Sunderland. Of course they do, but none of them are a main rivalry. I think that there's similar fans in that sense to Wigan and Bolton. Like, they're always trying to create a rivalry with teams and stuff like that, and I feel like they've started to do it again now with this Ben Gibson thing, and they're just an annoying bunch of bastards really, and they just get on my tits, and they've been doing it again now. But it will be a little bit of satisfaction will come back out of me through this Ben Gibson scenario if he doesn't go to Middlesbrough and he just says, I've been doing here to keep fit rather than going back to you.
I personally think that that's what's happening. I think he will go back to Middlesbrough. Let's put it this way. If there is Middlesbrough on the table and any other Premier League club on the table, I think he will choose any other club.
But just before I wrap up, is there anything you want to add, mate? The world is your oyster.
It's good job you said that because I would have forgot. Just want to add that been in touch with my little boy's football coach, Joe Skinner.
Yep.
Mentioned him last week on the podcast.
We did.
He's doing fantastic things for Pendleside Hospice. He did and he smashed the challenge. I think he did a 2-day boxing challenge. I can't remember the details of it all. But I watched a few of the rounds and gave him our support from Turfcast and myself. So I was buzzing for him. But anyway, he's still continuing his sort of press to raise more money for Pendleside Hospice. Because this is something that all of our listeners, or your listeners, and all of sort of like my family love Pendle Hospice, don't they? Like, we've all got a passion for raising money for them if we can. He was going to give away a 1970s squad picture with all the cards in it of the players. So
yeah, it's like a football card collection, isn't it?
That's what it is. Yeah, sorry, and it's from the 1970s. So anyway, he were on about sort of like who would give me some money for this to put to the pot, and I thought he deserves a little bit more than that. So because George kindly said that Turfcast can help, we are going to go and sort of push on this. I'll give you the details at another time because we don't know them ourselves. But yeah, we're going to do a bit of a collaboration with him.
Yeah, well, shout out to Joe if you're listening. I know you listened last week, and then you're a regular listener. I'm glad that Simon's brought you to my attention because I hadn't seen it come up on my social media and stuff, and it's good that we're going to sort of like work together and do it this way. But shout out again, like I said to Joe. I know he's messaged me. And because I was sorting this podcast out, I haven't messaged back yet. I'm going to message him now. Hopefully he's not asleep and I wake him up. That's the last thing I want when he's tired himself out doing all these boxing challenges. I'm going to message him now after the quiz before I edit it. And then hopefully we can get this sorted. More details will follow on this card and how you could potentially get your hands on it or whatever, or you could help us raise money for it. I need to sort out the details with Joe, and then we need to sort out stuff that will be on the next week's podcast, and it'll also be on the social media channels. But I know I keep saying it, but pretty much everyone that listens to this probably does follow us on social media by now. So that's pretty much it. So again, if you don't already, please follow us on all social medias. Just search Turfcast Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and now especially YouTube because we're doing vodcasts and more stuff on YouTube. So we're trying to build up the YouTube listenership/viewership. But we will be back same time next week. Probably me and Simon, and hopefully by then we'll have a date of when football will be coming back. So we'll see you next week.
Bye.